Welcome to Elevate the Game, where DFW's top leaders drop gems on success, strategy, and legacy with your hosts George Abreu and Eric Badiwala. Let's get into it.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Elevate the Game. We love having this podcast and all the different guests that we have. Just like every week, we're having different guests from all different types of businesses and all different types of walks of life. And the goal is to elevate the game, right? Whether it be improving, delivering value to you, helping you elevate your game in either your personal or business life, and just delivering value to one another. So the podcast is all about growth, and hopefully we can talk about some cool things here, especially with our guest today, Andrew Wildrix, who's in the technology space. So he's doing some cool stuff in cybersecurity, and all the stuff that has to do with security threats and cyber threats. So he's the VP of Business Development at Intrusion. They're a leader in the cybersecurity space, and I'm interested to dig in and see what that's all about and what you guys have going. So Andrew, appreciate you being here today, man. How you doing?
Great, thank you. Appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, for sure. So man, we'll just keep it casual, and we'll talk like if we're at Starbucks having a coffee or green tea. I don't drink coffee, but I drink green tea. Anyway, so Andrew, oh, nice, cool. Yeah, Alani's good, man. I love those. Got to keep it going, man. The energy is important. So Andrew, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located and, how you got into cybersecurity.
Pure serendipity. I'm actually here in sunny Plano, Texas. I've
Nice.
been here for about 5 years, but I've been a Texas resident most of my life. I actually started out in my career in telecom in the CLEC era and evolved into a career with AT&T Labs and AT&T Advanced Tech Support before I took early retirement to go into the startup world. And just by connection and serendipity, I interviewed for a VP of IT job at Intrusion. Had a very tumultuous time in their history. We had to move our entire corporate headquarters and data center because of a Chinese threat. And things took off from there. And got promoted to senior VP of technology. So I took over engineering and R&D. And then I took over operations and global support and became the CIO. And ended up leaving for a year and came back as the VP of business development. It's
Nice.
kind of short.
Cool. Yeah, everyone's got a story, man. It's crazy how it just sometimes things fall into place,
Yes.
So yeah, you're in Plano, I'm in Dallas, so not too far from you. Actually, I was in Plano just yesterday. But I mean, Texas is a great place, man. So, tell us about, the world of cybersecurity, man. What's going on in that space nowadays? I feel like every day there's some type of like hack or, somebody trying to hack into something, especially, with today's younger generation, man, like, kids today and millennials, they're all into YouTube, they're all into TikTok. And it's like, I feel like they're becoming sharper, right? And those guys that are growing, right, probably have more ability to do cyber threats because they're so in the know, and they're just much more advanced than like when we were at that age, right? Because just of what they're surrounded with. So, what type of, I guess, cyber threats are you seeing nowadays that are most common, and like your clients, when they come to you, what are their biggest concerns? Obviously data, right? But like,
Yeah.
what are some of the bigger threats out there that you're seeing, I guess?
Well, interestingly enough, being in Dallas, you probably know that Dallas has more hackers per capita than any city in the world.
I
And
I know that. Why is that?
yeah, it's a very robust community, but the hackers generally are going to cross in Dallas are more on the ethical side. But honestly, the most lucrative jobs in cybersecurity are on the criminal side. You think about just looking at your typical ransomware stats, only about 50% of the crimes get reported. So right off the bat, 50-50 chance of getting away with it. Out of that 50% that get reported, less than 10% get identified, and you're down to 1 or 2% that actually get prosecuted and fined and incarcerated, which is why it's always big news whenever they arrest somebody. It's not like a purse snatcher makes the news every day, even though purse snatchers get caught all the time. It's
Yeah.
because it's so rare that these guys get caught, and the payouts are, are tremendous. The general attitude in the small to medium business market is, I'm too small for to be, worried about this. They're going to go for bigger companies. The fact is that you can go on the dark web and buy a backdoor or a hack into a company for a few $1,000s and get a 10x return on investment with a 98% chance of getting away with it, as long as you're not greedy. it
Hmm.
it makes sense. It's become automated. It's ransomware as a service, data theft as a service, and most businesses' attitude is wrong. I mean, the thought process is it's not when am I going, if I'm going to get hacked. It's when I'm going to get hacked, and
Yeah.
that's like saying I'm going to play a game knowing I'm going to lose. Who does that? Who marries a spouse they know that's going to cheat on them?
Yeah.
You're going into trust relationships with cybersecurity vendors that are flawed, and yet you do it anyways. And the people that are implementing these things are doing it well. It's risk mitigation. We're doing the best risk to cost ratios. You're not playing to win, and
Yeah.
that's the thought process and thinking we're trying to change. It's like, why play the game if you can't win?
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, that's a good way of a good perspective of looking at it. Um, so what, when it comes to, I don't know too much about cybersecurity. Thankfully, it was funny. We had a healthcare professional on here the other day, and they're an orthopedic surgeon. I said, well, I don't know too much about surgery because I've never had to have surgery, but I've never had any data threats, on my end. But, what, do you guys have like a specific type of client that you guys service? Like what, is it more, like what's your ideal client, I guess, that you guys are servicing that need your services?
I would say everybody needs our services, but and that's why we broadened the scope and breadth of our technologies to make it applicable and affordable for everybody.
Hmm.
95% of our revenues is government related. And
Hmm.
that's mainly because they come to us with the problems that they can't solve, and
Yeah.
we solve them for them. But just to put something in context that you can understand is, I've got this Samsung Z Fold 7, right?
Hmm.
And the beauty of it is now I've got our product on here that actually blocks malicious connections inbound or outbound. So whether my hardware's compromised, my software's compromised, or an app is compromised, it's going to detect and kill those malicious connections in real time. And
Nice.
typically what I find is, like, this app is in the Google Play Store, over 10, 20 million downloads. It tells you it's connectionless. It it's free. It's very intensive game. But what people don't realize is if you get something for free, it's because you're the product.
Yeah.
And as I'm playing this game and I'm ignoring the pop-ups from my application going on in the background, what it's doing is it's reporting to me all the websites that this thing's trying to contact in the background.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's just one app in the Google Play Store. We find 15 to 20 of these things a month inside of Google, Samsung, Apple Play Store. And all of these things are doing things behind your back, just these little free games. And sometimes they're doing things innocuous, like putting tracking cookies on you to see what your buying
Yeah.
habits are, your browsing habits. Other things are more like stealing your credentials. If you do banking on your phone or any business on your phone, all of that data is at risk because you chose to answer a survey about what kind of potato you are, or play a game where you're popping bubbles half the day to pass the boredom. And people don't realize that so much of this goes on behind their back because you don't know what you don't know until
And you
somebody
don't
makes
see
you
it.
aware of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see it. And that's why we specifically created this app for Android and iOS devices, to make people aware and see these things, that this is what's going on apps that you're using every day that are compromising the integrity of not just your home network, but your business network. Because you carry this phone
Mhm.
inside your office now, it's behind the firewall. What's going to stop it from moving laterally and
Yeah.
infecting systems inside your workspace?
Man, I would almost say that cybersecurity, just from what you're saying, I mean, you go play a game innocently. Maybe you hand it to your child to like keep them entertained, and somebody's tracking you and getting all your credentials, your credit card info, whatever it is, directly from your phone. It's almost like this is like an insurance policy for you, you know? Like you never know what's going to happen. People, people have life insurance. You don't know one day. I mean, you could get in a car wreck tomorrow and something may happen, God forbid. You may have some type of health problems. You never know. But I mean, yeah, somebody may hack you and take all your money in your bank account or something, you know?
Yep. And the advent of smart devices and IoT devices makes it even worse. I mean, you've got smart TVs that can be turned on remotely and stream what's going on inside your house, your bedroom, your living room to the internet. We had one customer who took a device home to his home to play with it and see how it worked, and ended up finding out that he had a knockoff Roomba in his house that was duplicating all of his traffic and sending it to a power station in Mongolia. So,
Wow.
yeah. And
It's a
when
crazy
you
world.
realize that you're doing online banking and things like that in your home, paying bills, all that information just got sent to somebody on the other side of the world
Yeah.
without his
So
knowledge or
like,
consent.
you know how your phone, saves all your passwords, right?
Mhm.
I mean, now I'm freaked out.
You should be. If you're not scared, you're not listening. That's really what it comes down
Oh,
to.
100%. Yeah. So like, what are some stats, like, I don't know, is it like 1 in 10 people are getting hacked or maybe more? I don't know. I'm just kind of curious.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, so in 5 years of doing this with intrusion, um, I've only found one person or one entity, a financial services company out of New York, that actually did everything right, and we could find no indicators of compromise.
Hmm.
And the reasoning is very simple. I mean, as a small business, you buy cybersecurity products to meet an immediate need.
Hmm.
So you go out and you buy the basic stuff without an overall strategy of what do they integrate together, do they talk together, does it create gaps when I put them together? And so our technology focuses on finding those gaps, identifying them, and then covering them for you. So it's kind of an overlay that's not an end all be all, but it tells you where your problems lie, whether it be in the cloud or on an endpoint or behind your firewall. And it's just educating them to the point of responsibility to understand that I'm spending 80% of my budget to cover 20% of my attack surface. I'm going to lose every time. I
Yeah.
need to be investing in the right things and not just following what everybody else is doing because everybody else is getting hacked.
Yeah.
Think differently, think outside the box, or just re-engineer the box, which is what we're doing here at Intrusion.
Hmm. Nice. So what's obviously there's a lot of cyber security companies out there. What kind of, sets you guys apart from some of the others? I mean, is there any specialized service that you
Yeah,
guys do or just, additional
I,
layers? What does it look like?
yeah, I kind of call it the Chick-fil-A principles.
Hey, those are
There's a
good
time,
principles, man.
yeah, yeah, they do one thing and they do it well. You know them for chicken. That's what we do. We're not like a Google. We were a search engine that saw, oh, we should be in cyber because that's a good revenue stream, or
Yeah.
Microsoft, who made Office products and operating systems, thinking, okay, here's a nice vertical for capturing marketing data. Or on the other end, you got these companies subsidized by the Chinese to bring cheap cyber products into the market or compromised devices into the network. No, we don't do any of that. We started out as a cyber company. We've been a cyber company for 40 years. That's all we do. We're not
Yeah.
going to, introduce something that's outside of that realm. So when that's your sole focus and your sole revenue stream, you better be darn good at it, or you're not going to be around long. The fact
100%.
is,
Yeah, you
is
don't
it,
want to you don't want to be a jack of all trades, right? You want to concentrate on one thing and do it well and, service your people well. So totally agree with that.
right. And we've
Um,
got a threat database that goes back 30 years. Nobody else goes back that far. The breadth and volume of it is over
mhm.
9 billion DNS IP combos in the V4 space, 10 to the 23rd power in the V6 space. Companies like Google and Microsoft couldn't replicate that,
Yeah.
mainly because of privacy laws and the amount of time it takes to collect that level of data. It's like trying to say you can hire 9 women to make a baby in 1 month. Doesn't happen. It takes
Yeah.
time.
100%. So, man, what's any like tips or tricks, just for any of our listeners that they could use, to improve security today, and maybe obviously one day look at, getting, some type of hiring a
Sure.
company like yours, but what's something that somebody could do today that could protect them a little bit better than they are currently?
Yeah, there's a million things, but the first thing I would look at is, like I said, freeware isn't freeware. There's always a hidden cost involved, and it's
Yeah.
uh, you know consulting with companies that are MSPs or MSSPs, trusted advisors who have a good track record of delivering results to their customers is another thing. Not somebody who's tied to some brand specific solution. Um, but honestly, Intrusion is a company that says we will put our money where our mouth is. If you want an assessment because you think you're secure, you can reach out to us on our website or just call in and we'll do an assessment and tell you where your gaps are, and then you can decide, am I really safe? Because that's the question: is do you partner somebody that says they can answer that question with 100% clarity? Am I secure? If we
Yeah.
tell you secure, you're darn well going to be assured you are. And that's really it. And it's not that we're going to try to sell you a platform or a service. We want to sell you a way of thinking and a winning mindset. And if you use our products, great. If you choose somebody else, we're fine with that too. That the reality is we're not for everybody. Um, but most people derive a productive benefit out of our products and services.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I know us on the multifamily side, with the apartments, right? We're doing large syndications and, people are investing, money from, their direct accounts. They're, investing money from their IRAs and trusts. We have Social Security information.
Yeah.
Actually, that is actually handled by a platform that we have. So,
Hmm.
kind of thinking of how somebody could hack into us, they would probably have to hack into them. We just log into
Right.
their portal, but I would hope that they have some type of cybersecurity, on our end.
And
We use Syndication Pro to manage all of our investors. So this would be a question that I ask them. I'm sure they do, but I'm just thinking, man, if any of that was compromised, it could be, catastrophic, right? It's a lot of information. I mean, we've raised over $150 million in equity, and we have probably, close to 500 investors, all with sensitive data in there.
Mhm.
You know, you,
And sadly enough, it's you could be doing everything right, and then you bring on a partner who isn't doing everything right, and that's
yeah,
what sinks your boat. And so we've developed forensic tools to mitigate those risks for people. In fact, a lot of our clientele come from that area. They're doing a lot of mergers and acquisitions or integrations. They want to properly assess the risk involved. So we put in our platform, let it run for 2 weeks, and identify indicators of
mhm,
compromise or gaps in their security, so they can be remediated before that connection takes place. Because
yeah,
we don't want to react. I mean, we can help people even after the fact, after they've been ransomware, accelerate the remediation and identify the threat. But it's we own the hashtag cheaper than a breach and the domain cheaper than a breach because our solutions are cheaper than a breach in every instance. It's
yeah.
you're not
Uh,
you're not buying cybersecurity, you're buying financial security.
mhm. Yeah, well, better safe than sorry, man. You want to be on the offense on this stuff, not on the defense, right? Once you're on the defense, your back's against the wall. Um,
Exactly. And our,
so
our product right now, it's in 5 years of statistical analysis with 0 day attacks, where only God and the hacker knew about it when they launched this attack. We're
yeah,
over 96% effective against 0 days with a less than 1% false positive rate. There's the best AI platforms are around 86% on their best day. We're 96% on our worst day. So do the math there and figure out
yeah,
who,
that's
who you
right.
want to jump in with.
Yeah, no, that's a high percentage, man. I mean, heck, it's almost bulletproof there.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So, what are you guys seeing, Andrew, for the 2026 outlook, right? It's the end of the year. We're, coming on Christmas next week and the new year. What are some of the goals that Intrusion has, or just, objectives that what's your outlook for 2026?
I'd really want to focus here in Texas for not just being businesses, but education and government infrastructure. I mean, we've been ringing the bell for 2 years that Russia has compromised our critical infrastructure, water and electricity. Was it just yesterday or day before the article came out in the news saying, yeah, they're here and they've been doing things. Um, you know, so I think we're going to see, as things wind down with the Ukraine and Russia war, that those people are going to be focused more on trying to replenish their coffers. So you'll see an increase in cyber attacks, ransomware, data theft. China is always a threat, with critical infrastructure, and people are still going to be blissfully unaware until they're victims. So we're going to be out there trying to educate them and shining a light on these things that are going on in the background.
Yeah. And education is key, man. You don't know what you don't know. And you got to hire the professionals to be able to come in and do the job and just make it better for you. I mean, we try to do the same, especially, again, looking at the apartment side, right? We're the guys doing all the work, the boots on the ground, right? Come and partner with us and we'll do all the dirty work and make sure that your money is protected, right? And that maybe your data is protected too, right? With cybersecurity. So question for you, Andrew. So a lot of our listeners, obviously, on the apartment side, they're always looking for, passive income and, ways to kind of supplement their income. What are your thoughts on, passive income in general? And, obviously we all wish we had more of it, right? But what are your thoughts in general on just passive income and, maybe,
Oh,
protecting that, passive income?
I always joke that I either want less corruption or more opportunities to participate in it. But
Yeah.
when it comes to passive income, I love creating opportunities for folks to do those kinds of things. And so to that end, even I've created a business segment within Intrusion that allows people to act as agents for us
Hmm.
and get 10 to 15% residual income on whatever deals that they can create for us, because our sales force is small, our marketing department's even smaller. We're 51 employees, and 2/3 of them are engineers, because that's our focus is on
Yeah.
technology. So finding people who have a vision and connections to help us, educate folks and bring in more businesses, key to our success and growth in the coming year. So,
Mhm.
if someone wants to even look at becoming an agent and pushing cybersecurity into their vertical industries, we're open to those types of partnerships.
Nice. Yeah, well, you never know who's going to come across, man. I mean, that's why, we do this podcast to see, how we can connect people, right? It's all about relationships and connecting others, right? And just delivering good information. So, this has been great, Andrew. I mean, really, man, you got me thinking now. Now I'm going to be on my phone and on my computer today, like, oh man, what's going to happen? I'll always get, some emails like, Eric, if you don't give me this, I've gotten those emails before, right? I'm going to do whatever.
Yeah,
But I mean, the reality is it's we live in that world where those things exist. And like I said it earlier, I mean, better safe than sorry, especially if you're running a business, large data, government related agencies like you were talking about. I mean, heck, I mean, you want to be protected.
absolutely.
At
And
the end of the
at
day.
least you want to know what your risk level is, or if the
100%.
threats are real, right? And
Yeah.
so that's why we're open to giving people free trials and say, look, put this in, let it set for 2 weeks. We'll tell you where your threats are and how big those threats are.
Nice. So free
I've
trials, about 2 weeks. That's great. Test,
yeah,
test it, see if you're happy with it. And if not, let's move forward.
no,
If not, no obligations.
exactly. We put
That's
our money
awesome.
where our mouth is because we're that confident in our product and our technology. I don't think there's anybody else out there right now that's doing something like that to the level we are.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that. So, well, if you're listening today, hey, take Andrew up on that. I mean, that could be pretty good. I mean, that way you got, it's always good to, when you go and get out a new service, you never know how they're going to perform, right? So, seeing, a trial is always more helpful and builds confidence and trust. So, I think that's great that you guys are doing. Yeah, you guys are putting your money where your mouth is. So that's awesome. So, Andrew, if somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way just to keep in touch or connect? I mean, website, email, phone number. What's a good way to
Sure.
connect with you?
Website intrusion.com. They can just schedule a demo directly there, or they can call our offices. My direct line at the office is 469-596-7667. And at intrusion.com, you can get the company main line too. So whatever works, we're willing to meet people there.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, appreciate your time, Andrew, man. This was great. I mean, I think this was good insight. We haven't had a cybersecurity person on the podcast, and we've had a lot of AI talks, a lot of healthcare, a lot of real estate, but cybersecurity kind of protects all of that, right? Which is great. So I think this is something that we all need. So hopefully, we've been able to. I think we definitely elevated the game today. Gave people some awareness, about intrusion, about cybersecurity in general, and what it could cost you potentially, if you don't protect yourself. So appreciate your time, Andrew. And for those of you listening, if anyone has ever had any thoughts on cybersecurity or protecting yourselves, I mean, here's your guy. So
Thanks.
until next time, appreciate your time, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Elevate the Game. If you're a mover and shaker in DFW with game to share, apply to be a guest at elevatethegamepodcast.com/guest.